rise over run.
Okay, good.
So, oh man, it's been a while.
It's all right. What's the rise?
Isn't it 4 over 5? Y, X and Y, so...
This is the x-coordinate, that's the y-coordinate. This is the x-coordinate, that's the y-coordinate.
Right.
So the rise is the change in the y's over the change in the x's, which translates to y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1.
All right, yep.
So what is that?
So negative 7 minus 4, and then 2 minus 5.
What is that equal to?
Negative 11 over negative 3.
And what is that equal to?
Wouldn't it just be 11/3?
Uh-huh.
Would it be?
No. In other words, the reason I kept asking is because negative 11 over negative 3 wasn't on there.
All right.
As an answer. So we had to simplify that all the way down to positive 11 over positive 3. And that was good. You've improved on your arithmetic. There would have been a time where you'd had a hard time doing that one and that one and that one.
Yeah.
P is the greatest prime factor of 38, and F is the greatest prime factor of 100. Then what is P plus F? So let's start with 38. How do we figure out the prime factors of 38?
What goes into 38?
Okay, so let's do the tree. Let's split it up however we can. How can we split that up? What two numbers multiply to 38?
2 and 19.
Okay. What's true about both of those numbers?
They're both
prime. They're both prime.
Right.
I can't split up 19 anymore. So that's the greatest prime factor of 38. Now let's look at 100. Split that up.
You could do 5 and 20.
That's prime, but 20 isn't. Split 20 up.
10 and 2.
How much?
10 and 2, or 5 and 4.
10 and 2 is fine, but then that goes into 5 and 2. So now we have all prime numbers. What's the greatest prime?
19.
No.
Oh, 100.
No, for the 100.
5.
Okay. And what is P plus F? This is P. That's F.
24.
Uh-huh. Because they said P was the greatest prime of 38, F was the greatest prime of 100. What was their product? 24.
Okay.
They want to know what T squared plus V squared equals.
Wouldn't that just be? Oh wait, no.
Good. Thank you for seeing that. So go ahead and multiply that out. square it. What do you get?
Square 289.
No? Square t plus v.
Oh.
In other words, if we took the square root of both sides, we'd have this, whatever the square root of that is. I think it's 17. But that doesn't help us. We don't know how to figure out what t squared plus v squared is. So let's try instead multiplying that out. Square t plus v. Foil it.
Foil it?
Yeah, you have to. That's not the best way to do it. The best way to do it is based on the memory of what a plus b squared is.
Wouldn't it just be t plus v and then t plus v? Or would it...
Right. No, you're right. It's t plus b times t plus v. But what I'm saying is go ahead and multiply that together. What do you get?
tv?
Okay, foil it.
So then t squared
Okay, that's a start.
plus v squared.
Well, that's not the next term if I'm foiling it.
Plus vt then it would be
The best way to remember doing this is to not to try to remember FOIL. The best way to do this is every term by every term. By that I mean you want to multiply t times t, you want to multiply t times v, then you want to multiply v times t, then you want to multiply v times v. That's what I mean by every term by every term. So what do you get when you do all of that? You get t squared plus 2tv plus v squared. That's what's equal to 289.
okay.
Now we can make some progress because we're looking at a t squared and a v squared, and they've told us that tv equals 30. So what next?
Would you do 2 times 30, which is 60?
Okay, so we have t squared plus 60 plus v squared equals 289. What is t squared plus v squared? Yeah.
60 from 289?
Yeah, 229 is the answer.
Okay.
Okay? Incidentally, the biggest mistake in algebra that is not true, but that is the #1 mistake made in algebra. When you square the quantity a plus b squared, you do not get a squared plus b squared. There's a middle term.
Okay.
Okay, we have x to the 3a plus 5 all raised to the 4th power. And that's equal to x to the 44th power. They want us to figure out what a is.
So would you distribute the 4 to the...
Yeah, how do you do that? How do you it's not really called distributing, but I think you get the idea. Yeah, so what is it equal to?
You add it, so 7a.
No, you multiply it.
So 12a plus 20.
Uh-huh. Now what can you say? We've got the same base to this exponent equals the same x to this exponent. What can you say about the exponents?
Well, you could replace A with something, right?
They have to be equal.
Oh.
There's no way that x to this power could be equal to x to a different power without this power being equal to that power. In other words, the next statement I am able to say is that 12a plus 20 equals 44. Now we can solve for a.
Okay.
What's the next step?
Figure out the numbers. So would it be 12 or 12 times 2?
No, don't back solve this. Algebraically solve that.
Subtract 20 then from 5. And then divide by 12.
Much easier to algebraically solve it than to back solve it.
Okay.
At that point. Because there's no telling you're going to start with 2. Or, I mean, you may have to start with 53/12, and that would be a lot of arithmetic.
Yeah.
I mean, always try to go with the easiest way. Not sure what this question's doing on here, because I don't believe logarithms are part of the test. Have you had logs yet this year?
No.
Well, what this means is the same as this. In other words, if you give me a logarithmic expression, I can take the number on the far left, raise it to the power of the number on the far right, and it's equal to the number in the middle, which is how I got this. Now solve that for x.
You just do the square root,
Uh-huh.
which is 4 for 16.
No, it's the square root of 16.
Square root of 16?
Yeah, in other words, at this step right here, the way I'm going to solve this is I'm going to take the square root of both sides.
Right.
Square root of that side, square root of that side. Well, what's the square root of x squared? X. What's the square root of 16? Plus or minus 4. But in this case, they only have a plus 4 listed on there. So 4 is the answer. All right, let's see. Hold on a second. Some of these ones at the bottom, I have a hard time fitting on my screen. If problems like this give you trouble, draw a picture. It takes longer, and the last thing in the world you want to do is draw a proper grid on this XY coordinate plane. Okay? I mean, that's about as much as you want to put on there, if any, even that. Now, to plot these coordinates, I'm just going to approximate. I'm not going to count. In other words, I know minus 2 is a small direction there, up 9, so there's my first point right there. Minus 2 comma 9. The midpoint of the segment has 4, 4. Again, I'm just approximating. 4, 4. What are the coordinates of the other endpoint? We have some other endpoint down there, and we want those coordinates, x comma y, knowing that 4, 4 is the midpoint of that line. So what would the logical way to figure out what x is? What would it be?
Find the slope?
No, well, no, that's not a bad idea, but it's the long way. That would actually work. Good idea. But here's the thing. the midpoint is always halfway between the x-coordinates and it's halfway between the y-coordinates. How far away from 4 is it to minus 2?
5, I guess.
Look on a number line.
Well, -5, or
No. There's 4, 3, 2,
oh,
1. How much?
would it be 6?
Yes. Why is it 6? Because it's 4 minus a minus 2, which is the same as 4 plus 2, which is 6. So that's how far away it is from this point. So that means that's how far away it is from this point. So what does x have to be?
5.
We have to be 6 units away from 4. In other words, from minus 2 to 4 was 6 units. Well, 4 is halfway between the x-coordinate of that and the x-coordinate of that.
So would it be -2 or +2?
Look in the direction of it.
-2.
Well, hold on. We're looking at the x-coordinate, not the y-coordinate.
Okay, then it would be,
So it's 6 units to the right of 4.
would it be 10?
Yes. Now let's do the y-coordinate. How far away is the midpoint from the original?
Would it be 9? Oh, 5.
Okay, so in what direction are we going? Down, right?
Yes.
We're going from a +9 to a +4, so we're going down. So what's 5 units further down from a +4?
1.
That's only 3 units.
I mean, -1.
There you go. Now, remember this, because you're going to have a question on midpoints, and it's one of the easiest questions on the test. You wouldn't want to have to solve this by solving the slope. That would be a much, much more complicated way to solve it. Just remember that the midpoint, the x-coordinate is halfway between that x-coordinate and that x-coordinate, and the y-coordinate is halfway between that y-coordinate and that y-coordinate. So as long as you have a number line access, then if that's 9, that's 4, and I have to go 5 more units down, I got to go all the way to -1. Oh, I didn't even notice that as soon as we found the 10, we had the answer.
Right.
And that was my mistake. In other words, we wasted about a minute finding the y point, which we didn't need to do.
Unless there was another answer with 10 in it, correct?
Yeah, exactly. In other words, they're making it easy for us. They're showing people who can get the x-coordinate that that's all the work they have to do. They're done, they can go on to the next problem. That's why it's always a good idea to look at the answers. Okay, here's a question on conics. Well, there's only 2, but this is one of them.
So would that be positive?
In order to get this, you have to remember what the general form of a circle is. By that I mean the general equation.
We were just learning this, so it would be
Okay.
4, the center would be 4, comma 1.
Very good.
And then the radius would be 6, or 4.
No.
Or,
If
sorry.
you remember the general form, you'd know it, because the general form is this.
It would be 7.
No?
No?
Equals the radius squared. That's the general form of a circle. Now, if they wanted the center, you'd have had it. Perfect. But they don't. They want the radius. So if the radius squared is 14, what's the radius?
7?
How do I solve that equation?
Well,
We just did a problem like this. How do I solve this?
oh, you square root it.
Okay. So what's the answer?
Square root 7?
Square root 14.
Oh. Oh, for some reason, okay.
No. Where the 7? They've got a 7 and a square root of 7 on there. I'm not sure why. There's no 7 that comes into play at any point in time.
It's because I was thinking 7 plus, or 7 plus 7, or 7 times 2.
Okay. So maybe when you went to solve that, you wanted to divide by 2 instead of taking the square root.
Yeah.
All right. If that was 2r equal 14, then r would be 7. But clearly that has to be different. All right, a trig question. And I don't even need this. The cosine of A is equal to what?
Adjacent over hypotenuse.
Good.
So 12 over 5.
Well, 12 is
I
the
mean,
adjacent.
12 over x. It'd be 12 over x.
So we have to solve for x, because we don't have it. They didn't give us what the hypotenuse was.
Mm-hmm.
We could make a pretty legitimate guess based on their answers.
It's either 12 over 13 or 12 over 5.
Could it be 12 over 5?
No.
Because the hypotenuse has to be the longest side of the triangle.
Correct.
So it would have to be 12 over 13.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not the real way to solve it. The real way to solve it is to use the Pythagorean theorem to solve for that hypotenuse. How do we do that?
Hypotenuse squared equals a squared plus b squared. So x squared equals 5 squared plus 12 squared.
So how do you get x?
That equals 169, and the square root of 169 is 13.
Okay. Okay, this problem is a gift. There's nothing easier than working with exponents. You have to remember 3 rules and only 3 rules. Let's start with the number first. In other words, take one thing at a time. Work with the numbers, and then work with the letter A, and then work with the letter B. So what do we got with numbers? We got 13 times minus 8 divided by 4. What's that all equal to?
That would be negative 26.
Okay. So at this point,
You can cross out 1.
yeah, we're down to B or D or E. But we got the number part taken care of. Minus 26. Okay, how about the letter A? We got...
You add exponents on top, so 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay.
And then subtract. So then it'd be A3.
Okay. Now we're down.
Oh,
Now we're down to B. That's it. We're done. And I didn't mean the letter B. I meant the capital letter B. In other words, the moment we figured out that it's minus 26a to the third, there's only one answer that has that. However, let's do the letter B just for the heck of it. So we've got b to the fourth times b to the fifth in top, b to the sixth down below.
it would be 9, and then 9 minus 6 equals 3.
All right. That's why I said that was a gift, because those are always just simple arithmetic, basically. Ooh, it's windy out. I was going to try to play golf today. I'm glad I didn't. I mean, I would have had to been off the course by now anyway, but yeah, it's no fun in the wind.
I have my brother's baseball game at 6 o'clock, and it's not going to be fun because all that dust keeps blowing everywhere.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Although it's supposed to be like 70 out. It's supposed to be very warm, but it will be windy. Yeah. Okay, which of the following set of 3 numbers could be a right isosceles triangle? Now, let's draw a right isosceles triangle. It's a triangle that has a right angle there, and that side is equal to that side. Could F be it?
No.
Could G be it?
No.
Could H?
No.
Could J?
No.
We have the answer.
Okay.
K is correct. Notice that that was only a 20-second problem, as long as we did it that way. So this is a line. It's not in y equal mx plus b format, but it's still a line because there's a y and there's an x. So that is a linear equation. Where does that cross the y-axis?
Would it be 3? I mean, the y-axis, would it just be...
The y-axis. Where does it cross the y-axis?
You first have to put it into y equals mx.
Well, you don't actually. That'd be one way to do it. Let's do that. Just practice your algebra.
Okay, so then would you add 2 to the other side first? Well,
Okay?
And then you just subtract negative or minus 3x to the other side.
I'm writing it like that so that I'll have it in mx plus b format when I'm done. What's the last step?
Divide by 7.
What's the y-intercept?
2/7.
Uh-huh. It's a much easier way to get it. What do we know about the y-intercept? What is x when we're on the y-intercept?
What do you mean?
What is the x-coordinate when we are on the y-intercept? 0. Always. In other words, that coordinate is 0 comma some y value. But the realization is that y-intercepts, x is 0. X-intercepts, y is 0. In other words, what's the x-intercept? Well, that's where the y value is 0. The y-intercept is where the x value is 0. So if I know that, and I want the y-intercept, we'll just plug in x of 0. And then we have 7y minus 2 equals 0. 7y, y equals 2/7. Almost immediately.
Okay.
Okay? It's just easier math, is all, than having to put it into y equal mx plus b format. Just remember, when the y-intercept, that means x is 0. On the x-intercept, that means y is 0. That's a key thing in math that you want to remember for a while. Which of the following statements identifies the same set as the graph shown below? In case you can't see that, there's a big dot there at -4. There's an open dot at 6, and the graph is all the values between those two. So which of those statements states this graph?
I'm trying to remember. The filled-in dot means is it equal to?
Yeah,
Or,
no, the opposite. The closed dot is greater than or equal to. The open dot is just less than.
Okay, so then I'm trying to think if the x.
Go through each answer.
What wouldn't be g?
Start with F. In this case, you don't have any advantage in starting with G, because it's not going to tell you whether you have to go up or down if you're wrong. So let's just start at the beginning and go down. Why would it not be F? F is it. The X that they're referring to is the line. In other words, what this says is x has to be greater than or equal to -4 and less than 6. Not less than or equal to, but less than 6. Well, that's what statement F says, only in one line instead of two, or in two lines instead of one.
Okay.
Okay? Do you see where x greater than or equal to -4 means we have to go to the right of that dot? And it's a solid dot because of the greater than or equal. And it's an open dot because it's less than 6, can't be equal to 6, it can only be less than 6.
Okay.
Okay. This is a bit of a difficult problem. Now let's see what you do with it. They want the perimeter. So the only two sides they haven't given us is this one and this one.
Okay. Well, 6 times 6 is 36. That's the height times the
Perimeter, that's not the area though. We don't want the area.
Oh.
We want the perimeter. In other words, we need to figure out what this side is, and we need to figure out what this side is. And then we'll add the 5 numbers together.
Okay.
What if I drop a vertical right there? Can I solve that triangle?
Yes.
Well, what are some of these distances? Do I know this distance?
It would be 3.
Good. I don't know this distance, but I don't need to know it because I know this angle. What is this angle right here?
$30 degrees?
This one's 30.
So,
Together they form a right angle.
that would be 60.
All right. So that makes this one 30. Well, there's our 30-60 right triangle again. Keeps popping up. It pops up all over the place. So you want to know what the dimensions of a typical one are. That's what they are. And what we're looking for is the hypotenuse length there. So this triangle here is similar to this triangle there, which means we can figure out the dimension we need. What's the similarity ratio? Whenever you're solving similar triangles, which come up a lot on the ACT test. And in fact, if you can solve similar triangles and if you can solve the Pythagorean theorem on triangles, you're going to get 6 or 7 problems right just there. So you need to be able to solve similar triangles.
A 30-60 triangle, isn't that long leg time, or a long leg square root 3?
I've drawn it right here.
Equals short leg, or?
No, this is it right here. There's your unit one. So compare this one to this one down here to figure out what this one's hypotenuse is going to be. How are we going to compare them? What is the similarity ratio? In the small one, what is the side opposite the 30-degree angle?
1.
In the big one, what is the side opposite the 30-degree angle?
3.
What is the similarity ratio? 3 to 1.
Oh.
That means every side on that triangle has to be 3 times the size of this triangle. So what is the hypotenuse over here?
Would it be 4?
has to be 3 times the similar side on the other triangle. Remember, they're both similar. Every side is proportional. If there's a 3-to-1 ratio on the side opposite the 30-degree angle, then there's a 3-to-1 ratio of the hypotenuses. And there's a 3-to-1 ratio of the side opposite the 60-degree angle. But we don't need the 60-degree angle side. We need the hypotenuse. So
would it be
6 has to be 3 times this hypotenuse. And that's the way you solve similar triangles, is if you know the dimensions of the unit one, then you can figure out the dimensions of your bigger one or smaller one, as it might be. Well, what is true about this triangle over here?
It's the same?
So what is this hypotenuse over here?
6.
And what's the perimeter?
30.
That was a hard one for sure. Okay, I have the square root of 3 times x cubed over 2y is equal to a positive number. Well, we knew that. What must be true of x and y? And scan the answers before you think about it.
I know they both must be negative is incorrect.
Okay.
I think.
Why is that incorrect?
What?
Why is that incorrect?
Because when you square root a number, you can't get negative.
That's true, but if x was negative and you cube it, it'll stay negative. And if you divide a negative by a negative, you'll get a positive. So x and y could be negative, both of them.
Okay.
F is still not the correct answer. Because obviously, x and y can both be positive. If I cube a positive number, it stays positive. Y is positive. A positive divided by a positive is a positive. So that'll work fine also. So it's kind of looking like H. They either have to both be positive or both be negative. Notice that if they had opposite signs, let's let x be negative. Minus 2 cubed divided by a positive y. Well, minus 2 cubed is still minus 8. Divided by a positive, this whole thing is still negative. I can't take the square root of a negative number.
All right.
In other words, the premise here, the entire premise of this problem, you can forget the 3, you can forget the 2, and you can forget the 4. What we need is for this to be positive. Right? You see that?
Yes.
And that is positive if both x and y have the same sign.
Okay.
All right. Let's try to do one more here. Actually, I'm encouraged. I think you've done real well today.
Well, thank you.
Now, what kind of math are you taking in class right now? Algebra 2?
Geometry.
Geometry? Okay. Okay, so for all pairs of real numbers A and S, well, if A is equal to that, what's S equal to? Solve that equation. Solve that equation for S. In other words, the goal is to isolate S.
So could you do, could you subtract 9 to the other side? And then you could do divide by 2.
Answer D.
Okay.
It's as straightforward and simple as that. You just want to make sure you can take an equation and solve for the variable that's not already been solved for.
Okay.
Wow. We have a question that has not only a cannot be determined, but an undefined in the same question. Incidentally, K will never be right. Whenever you see a problem that has K, cannot be determined from the given information, cross it out. I have never yet in 5 years seen that to be the correct answer.
Okay.
So what is the slope of a line perpendicular to the y-axis?
So it will be the opposite?
No, what is it? There's a slope on that line right there. This line right here. What's the slope of it?
Is it undefined?
No, that's a vertical line.
So then it's 1.
0.
Or 0.
Remember what slope is? Rise over run.
Right.
Well, there's no rise. The rise is 0 everywhere you go. So it's 0 over whatever run you want to put in there. And 0 divided by any number is 0. So the slope is 0 of a horizontal line. The slope of a vertical line is infinity or undefined. So undefined could have been an answer, but it wasn't on this one.
Okay.
Okay? All right. I'll make a note. We got through 38, which was a lot of progress today.
Yay.
And let's see. Are we meeting next Monday?
I'm going to be in New Orleans next Monday, so I think my mom will want to do April 1st.
Okay. I'll mark it down for April 1st.
And she also wanted to know if you could send her the bill.
Uh-huh. Sure.
So that we could start, make sure that we can keep up with that and stuff.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Awesome.
I'll do
right.
it. Okay, I'll talk to you April 1st. Have fun in New Orleans.
Thank you. Have a good spring break.
Oh, wow. That
week.
does sound fun. Okay. Don't party too hard.
All right.
All right.
What?
Bye-bye.
All right, bye.